that did it.
Hello. Oh,
Hello.
hello. You're here.
Hi, you're here.
What's up, dude?
Not a lot. How's things been?
Things is okay. Is anyone else here? Crowley? Crowley's here.
Whoa, Crowley sounds weird. Wait, that wasn't Crowley. Who was that?
That was the other Dan. Double D's are here.
Actually, it's Triple D.
Is it triple? Oh, yes, Dylan.
Excuse me, thank you.
Delonious.
Sorry.
The Dillionaire over here.
The Dillionaire. Hello, Dan.
Right, well.
Yeah. So we got a fun episode. Dan Hitchens. I was just trying to remember which episode you were on, the last one, the history buff.
There's no S on the end of Hitchin.
Yeah, I think people love to pluralize my last name, but
Hitchin.
it's not
He's
so.
hitching a ride.
That's right. Exactly.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
It was like episode 7 or something.
Something, yeah. That was where
Everyone's going to be like, no. We were so 9.
we were talking about history, and I shamefully was ranting about something that was unrelated to...
How dare you be wrong?
Yeah, I know. I was pissed.
Is there anything that you want to, what do we call that?
I don't want to revisit it at all.
Amend? Nope.
No.
People have forgotten. They've already stored that incorrect information.
It's too shameful.
They've already failed the exam they were studying for.
I wasn't far off. We were talking about like Operation Mincemeat.
Oh, he does want to go back.
And I applied it to I think I applied it to the D-Day landings instead of the landings in Sicily. It was something like that.
Something shameful.
We were talking about that
Oh, man.
that they left in the ocean for the
Right.
off Spain.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we were talking.
So all of the thousands of people who wrote in and mailed in and everything about that, then just understand that we did
The hordes.
reprimand Dan. We've told him, we brought him back specifically to apologize to you, the hordes of people who know
Over a year later.
that fact.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, he had to drag him back. He was afraid for his life.
Yeah.
After all the death threats, like,
I know people are tuning out of Joe Rogan just to listen to this, but
Damn right.
fair enough.
We're going for that Spotify deal.
I
No.
want something of substance.
Like
Something other people can get behind. Yeah.
yeah, no, I remember talking about that. That was something that he admits to being wrong. So
I knew you were wrong at the time. I just wanted to see. It was a test. It was just seeing if you would.
I had no fucking clue.
Not.
I think I was the one that brought that story up, and I was the one that was talking about that. And then I was just, you gaslit me.
yeah. No,
I'm going to put an end to this right now. It's in the past.
I was just giving you.
It's in the past. We don't care anymore.
We don't need Jerry Stiller.
I don't care anymore.
Jerry Stiller?
Today is today. Jerry Stiller.
Jerry
Springfield?
Is that like
Who the fuck am I thinking
Ben's
of?
dad?
Yeah.
Jerry Springfield. The guy that had the trash TV.
Jerry Springer?
Springer. Fuck.
Jerry Springfield.
Jerry Springfield.
Why did...
Like the Simpsons version?
Yeah, that's scary.
It's
man.
actually way better. Jerry Springfield. It's a sick Simpsons show.
We don't need Jerry Springfield on here. We got this. Okay, yeah. Fuck. Anyways, okay, we got a fun episode with some fun, cool, spooky history because this is a Halloween episode of These Are My. Nice. Nailed it. These are my villains. We're doing a Switch Halloween special of villains, and we got the history buff to tell us all about it. The one that I was going to talk about, which I'm pretty sure is the one that you're bringing up, is a vampire.
What?
You're
A real vampire?
I thought, wasn't this guy identified? Vlad the
Impaler.
Yeah, the guy you're bringing up. That was the one that when you said that I was looking into because I thought Halloween vampires, and that's the only guy that ever really comes up.
He was the inspiration for Dracula, right?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Because his name, he was Vlad the Third Dracula, and his father was Vlad the Second Dracula. And Dracula means dragon. Dracula means son of the dragon, which is fucking
so
dope.
cool.
I didn't.
So tight.
It's in reference to a dragon. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Then why is it? That's getting mixed.
It's like the family name. Well, all it is.
Bats, dragons, all snakes, all kinds of shit.
All it is when Bram Stoker was writing Dracula, he went to Transylvania and Romania, and he was just looking around, and he just was like, Dracula's a cool name, and then I think he just used it for his vampire. Yeah,
crazy.
Truly, it is a really good vampire name. I mean, damn.
Yeah,
it's the vampire name.
Iconic.
The Ragul.
The Ragul. Yeah, then that's. I had no idea that had to do anything with dragons. I don't know how I missed that for so long. I watched too many Scooby Doos.
Yeah, so he's not like Dracula's not based off Vlad like in a literal sense. Largely, it's just because they borrowed his name.
Okay, that clears that up.
He didn't drink people's blood,
which is odd because they like chose a different evil guy's name and they didn't include any of the very, very heavy metal evil shit that guy actually did in the Dracula.
Vlad.
What I mean is that, yeah, like Dracula doesn't really impale people.
No.
Even though that would be super scary and badass.
Gives them
It's
hickeys.
just like,
Yeah.
yeah, gives them a couple double hickeys.
Do a couple double hickeys and away they go. Yeah.
You know, it's actually still on Dracula. You know what's fun is the first edition of the Dracula book, when it was released, it had a yellow hardcover, which in Victorian England signified that it was pornographic.
Oh, damn.
Anything that was pornographic was released with a yellow hardcover, and it didn't necessarily mean that, like, you know, there's like
Tits.
you know, like tits and
It's just a heavier rating.
cocky in the middle of the book. It's just that there was some very
I'm gonna put all these yellow books back now, actually.
yeah, it was just a lot of what they would have considered erotic, and it wouldn't have been for
Tantalize your niggers.
for everybody. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it's like, instead of like, you know, for intense language, violence, nudity, blah, 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 and sexual law, it's like parental discretion is advised. It's like, you know, an ankle.
Yeah.
A smooch. Like,
May tantalize your knickers. Yeah.
there is flirting in this book. Like, make it a yellow page.
He's going for their necks.
Right. That's like very sexual.
Like, yeah, women. You'll see women with like, collars a lot back then. It's
Just to hide from vampires.
yeah, things have changed.
And perverts.
Yeah.
Yeah, perverts.
I think they do that now.
Yeah.
You go out wearing a beekeeper suit because creeps everywhere. Creeps and vampires.
Damn. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, that's not awesome, but that's awesome. I didn't know that. Yellow books.
But yeah, I have to say it was not unexpected to hear that you wanted to talk about Vlad the Impaler.
Well, no doubt. I mean, it's a good place to start, right?
Yes.
Like,
Perfect. Yeah.
evil bastard at the beginning of the evil bastards list.
I got a quick vampire tip.
Okay. Just to avoid them, or
Yeah, just to
I already
garlic.
nice.
I was gonna say I already cooked with that a lot. So
Yeah.
Oh, did people already know that?
Like garlic.
Yeah.
yes,
No, apparently, this is something that I wondered if you knew. In Hong Kong, according to Chinese folktales, a dead body can be reanimated as a Jiang Jishi
no, I didn't know that.
by a sorcerer.
Easy.
Since stiff with rigor mortis, they can only move by hopping like rabbits with their long-nailed hands outstretched. The sorcerer controls the corpse with a spell written on yellow paper and stuck to their foreheads. If the post-it note falls off, the Jiangxi regains control and leaps around trying to suck the Qi life force.
Qi.
Thank you.
Sorry. Qi.
I think.
From the living. That makes more sense, yeah. Instead of garlic and crucifixes, the Chinese use sticky rice and yin-yangs to repel Jiangxi. Hong Kong released several popular horror comedies about Jiangxi in the 1980s.
They use sticky rice to get rid of them?
Yeah,
I
apparently.
think they have lots of that around.
It's like, no, not garlic, sticky rice. What are you doing? Yes.
Not enough garlic. Garlic too expensive. It's sticky rice.
It's a sticky rice and yin-yang, which
What about yin yang?
that's sticky rice and yin-yangs is what it says, to repel Jiangxi. So
Their version of holding up a cross.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's like the holy symbol.
Yeah. In the name of Brendan Lee, be sure to hold your breath to keep in the chi and listen for the jumping noises. Anyways, that was just... I'm going to throw some mini little facts throughout the thing because that's what I brought to the table.
Creepy. Just like a bunch of like zombies hopping around because they're like rigor mortis.
Yeah, so they're stiff as fuck. That's kind of hilarious.
It is a little, it's like, I don't know, I feel like some Japanese horror is like a little, like a streak of silliness to it that makes it like insane and scary. Scarier.
Yeah. Also, are somehow able to imagine things that like are just absolutely horrifying to me. Like,
Yeah.
like just say, well, it's not somehow. It's because they're a different culture, but it's it's like you watch their horror movies.
They differently than me. It's the weirdest.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. No, but like The Ring,
I mean,
Ring you.
like yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or like some of the monsters. Like if you look at like Silent Hill or something, some of the monsters that they come up with, like Pyramid Head.
Junji Ito.
one of the gnarliest things I've noticed is like in animation, if for whatever reason in like some certain animation, the teeth that they use on monsters and like horrific people and stuff are always like
Sharp.
No, they're like flat human teeth. Like if there's like just like a big huge creepy monster like gnashing away, like following, it's just got like these scarily human teeth always, and they would still fuck you up. Like they would still just crush you apart, but like they're not as sharp as like Western scary monsters. It's like creepily human,
which is kind of gross.
it's really bad. Like I'm thinking about like Berserk, like have you seen Berserk?
No.
Pretty sure a cat just crop dusted me.
Crowley.
Crowley, first you're biting, now you're crop dusting the guts.
This is I could just be my imagination, but my roommate just got a cat and he does the same thing. He
I've
on my lap.
Don't ever see Crowley rip one. But that would be very Jerry
Doug?
Springfield of the cat to do that.
You talking about Doug?
I'm talking about Doug.
your new buddy Doug that I've been cuddling and hanging out with over when I go over for.
He's very cute, but he likes to.
He smells bad, dude. That cat for some reason has like a real gnarly digestive system. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with mixed feeding him, but that song by Phoebe Buffay.
Yeah,
What are they feeding you?
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Yeah, it's being worked on. That's for sure.
That's good. Well, that's good. Everybody's happy to hear that.
What, eating it out of the cat?
I digress. Enough about cat farts.
Well, anyway,
Holy shit.
who else sucks? Who else is terrible? Or wait, no, we're still on Vlad.
Still
we're on both Vlad.
Rip the seal.
Okay.
What do you want to know about
We go.
Vlad?
Okay.
I have a fairly okay knowledge of him.
Trigger warning, right? This guy is very gnarly. Obviously he's an impaler. He's the impaler.
Yeah.
He impaled a lot of people. He made a forest out of people on toothpicks. So
Doesn't mean he was banging a lot of girls.
No, he did that too, I'm sure.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure there was nothing that he really wanted for that he couldn't just have.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're able to impale thousands of people, probably whatever else you ask for will happen also.
People are scared.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
no, I won't do that though. Impale a bunch of people, sure, but not that other thing you asked for. No.
I have a line. Jeez. You know, yeah.
I'll say it's important to separate myth from reality. So, did he impale a lot of people? Hell yeah. Did he?
Along a road, right, to his castle, so that you would have to walk past it.
Yeah. So, he's actually a national hero in Romania, still.
Okay.
And it's because he fought the Turks.
Okay.
He actually so he was the prince or the voivode of Wallachia, which is what's now southern Romania, and the Ottoman Turks were trying to control the area, and he was his father sent him to be a hostage of the Sultan when he was a kid.
And so
he lived there for a number of years, and they abused him. They also educated him to their detriment, but they abused him, and he didn't like them, and so he wasn't gonna. They were raising him to be a cooperative Christian prince that they could control, and it didn't quite happen that way.
crazy.
He didn't want to do that.
Oh.
And so, yeah, he's a national hero because he fought relentlessly against the Turks. And so that story that you're talking about, the Forest of Dead, those were Turkish prisoners of war.
Yeah, an example, right? Because there's soldiers coming up, not just to terrify the peasantry, but to get the advancing army that is oppressing them.
Yeah,
this is what happens when you fuck with us.
The Sultan that he was fighting is the same Sultan who had recently conquered Constantinople, and Mehmed the Conqueror is his name.
Mehmed.
Or Mehmed, however you pronounce it.
Sure.
I'm not Turkish, so I don't know.
How do you pronounce it, Dylan?
I think it's Mehmed the Conqueror.
Jerry Springfield
the second. So, anyways, he's marching on Wallachia to subdue Vlad.
Right.
And Vlad, in his retreat, leaves what they say is 20,000. Oftentimes back then they exaggerated numbers, but you can bet at least thousands. That's where that number came from. And he impaled prisoners along the route that the Turks were taking.
The gnarliest way is always, to me, is just how he did that. How the impaling part process.
A quarterstaff or a long spear?
Oh, of course, a long spear, but they grease it.
I don't know.
Right?
And they impale you in different parts. So it depends.
Alive?
Well, it depends. That all depended on how long they wanted to keep you alive.
Oh.
So, some people have survived, not necessarily one of Vlad's victims, but some people have survived impalement for a week because of the way
would they feed them?
It's done
and drink them?
No,
or not drink them, give them water? No,
they're waiting for them to die, but it's just these people just survive.
It's like being crucified in ancient times. You're not taking care of you.
If it's not a lethal blow, you're just on this sticks waiting.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
Bleed out or whatever.
I always refer, my huge knowledge base is Diablo, where you see people, background characters kind of moving. They're dead, but they're alive.
Yeah, that is in hell. That is literally in hell in Diablo, where the lost souls are writhing around. This is not like historical fact.
I guess.
However, it's probably not that far off from what it would look like if there were some people still alive on these.
Visual representation.
If you can imagine a few thousand people like purposely placed on the road.
It's very awful.
Yeah.
Do you know the way to the castle?
Anyways, they would,
Follow the dudes.
they could choose to impale you from like, say, like your lower back,
Right.
like through you and leave you hanging there.
That's where that term comes from.
They'll go through.
Don't leave me hanging.
They could grease it up and put you like anus first on the spike.
That's the one I always feel that's just the worst.
Well, that's the one where you'll slide down and it'll come out like around your neck.
That's gotta kill you.
It's very nasty.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they will all kill you. It just like
How long are you going to suffer for?
Yeah. You're going to die. You won't.
Not taking you down like you made it a week.
It's not
for you.
It's a trial.
It's not a corporal punishment. It's a capital punishment.
Yeah.
So
it's done. Yeah.
Jesus fuck.
Yeah. So that was
Very horrible.
That was his deal. He didn't just impale Turks either. He impaled like his own rivals. There were. So he lived on the border, like the Kingdom of Hungary.
Okay.
This time was a very large, like powerful country. Like Hungary today is just a little state. Yeah. But it was much bigger and more powerful back in the day. So he was like actually on the border of Hungary, and so he was also quarreling with people on the border.
Okay.
And in particular there were Saxon or German colonists in that area,
Right.
and he was quarreling with them, and he impaled a lot of them too. So it wasn't just Turks, although he particularly liked impaling Turks
Because that's like
That's who oppressed him.
Yeah, his Batman origin story of
yeah. And then so he was actually the voivode 3 times. Because he kept getting...
What does that word mean? Isn't that a band?
You say it differently than
Vivid?
everybody who says the band, which is voivod, but voivode is how
This
you
one
say
ends with an E, but I think it's the same.
Vode, O-E-O-D-E.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. He's a prince.
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
I assume it's not a different...
Like, in some European countries, they're not going to be... The monarch isn't going to be a king. It'll be a lesser rank. So there's the Grand Duke of Luxembourg, for instance, is a monarch.
Okay.
But not of the same rank as a king. Vlad was a prince.
A voivode.
A voivode, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. It's just
The artist
I think
formerly
it's just
known
prince,
as.
prince in the language of the region.
Right. Okay. Okay, cool. Now I know what that means. I've always, because I know the band, obviously.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought was,
Yeah.
but I've never looked into what
just
that meant.
take voivode, add an E.
It's funny that we keep getting, Torify keeps getting compared to them. They're like, well, obviously this is just voivode worship. And I'm like, it's funny because nobody in the band listens to voivode at all.
That's,
Like, we don't care at all about it. And to me, it's very different and like mid-tempo paced and like different than Torify. But everybody keeps saying like, oh yeah, this is clearly like voivode worship. Like,
worship. Inspired is a better word, but
I mean,
even if
not in a bad way. Just like people are like, oh, they try to categorize it, right?
Right.
They try to categorize everything they can because they're humans. But
you can't categorize Torify. You can't give it a
you
plus.
could try.
It's voivode.
It's just voivode.
It's voivode. Vaudeville. It's just vaudeville.
Vaudeville, voivode. Anyway, yeah. What else? Who else?
I have a question though.
Oh,
Is it what happened to Vlad?
Well, Joey, I'm not done with Vlad. My question is, and this is a silly one, it is, but how many people do you have to impale to get the title Impaler?
Enough.
probably like 9.
Because
Like
that's enough.
like, this guy gets the title.
Well, how many other people are impaling right now? You know, or not right now, but at the time. I mean, when you ask,
yeah, right.
right? It's kind of his thing, right?
There's lots of cultures.
Don't take my thing. Yeah.
There's lots of cultures that it would impale people, and impalement wasn't like unheard of in Europe. It's just that he had a particular taste for doing
Fancy.
There was
Right?
Ted the Tickler,
Yeah. So like for he would impale people like
Bob the Basher,
like the Sultan, for instance, sent two emissaries to basically
Steve the Skinner.
demand homage from him.
Yeah.
And he, instead of kowtowing to the Sultan, he impaled his emissaries, and that was the message.
I mean, that would suck.
That is one of the wackest things ever.
I've also heard, and
Killing the messenger's the dumbest shit. I hate that.
Yeah, I've also read, and this could be another thing where you gotta like, is this real or is it myth? I don't know.
Right.
But allegedly, he had some Turkish emissaries come to his court.
Okay.
And when it was dinner time, he asked them to remove their turbans, at which point they were like, no. And he knew they would say that. And so he had them nailed to their heads.
Holy shit, Vlad.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. That's it. Because
I don't know enough about Vlad to know that that's like true or false. But
I have heard that, though.
That's the type of thing. That's another important thing about Vlad, though, and that's why I'm comfortable telling those stories, is because Vlad, he gets his nickname for
obvious reasons.
His legend spread across Europe at the time, and it got like,
He's a dark shadow. Like he's like a villain.
Yeah. Like in throughout like Germany especially, they were like telling tales of Vlad. So a lot of that.
The hysteria is like massive at the time. Like the fear of this man would be insane.
He had legends being like churned up and like spit out about him.
Yeah, like he eats babies and he blah blah blah. Like I mean, why wouldn't they just say that stuff? He's already trying to scare the hell out of his enemies. It's not like he wouldn't like approve of people saying that he's like a scary monster who does like inhuman barbaric shit. Like,
street cred.
Don't fuck with him.
Yeah,
it's like street cred. Don't fuck with this
guy.
Don't you dare march an army on this guy, or guess what's gonna happen?
Pop.
Yeah, he has literal demons on wings that'll fly out and fuck you up.
Yeah.
People are like, okay, fuck, I'm not doing this. I'm not fighting a vampire.
Yeah,
like.
I'm not high enough level. My charisma's low. Yeah,
that's very, very much what like any ruler at the time would have wanted.
Right,
is to just
to be feared as fuck. Yeah,
fucking street cred. I do want to know what happened to him because I don't.
So I meant in the literal sense, how did Vlad come to an end?
Yeah,
in battle.
Oh, did he get killed?
No. Nobody really knows exactly what happened to him, except for the fact that. They found his body.
Yeah, he didn't come back.
His head and put it on a really high spike in Constantinople.
I bet.
Because he was a scourge to the Turks.
They finally got him. They're like, it's Vlad. He's dead. Let's get it.
So one thing is, for instance, he snuck into the Sultan's camp one time,
right?
Dressed with his men dressed as Turks, and he tried to like kill the Sultan. So that was like a common like tactic of his, was to dress up as the enemy. So there's a few legends that sort of swirl around that. It's like, oh, was he dressed as a Turk and his own men killed him, or there's a few different theories about how he died in the battle. They don't know for sure, but they did take his head and put it on a big spike.
The Turks,
yes,
and that was like their biggest crowning achievement up to that point,
to show that he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they could have been like now conspiracy times where it's like they killed him and it was just somebody else and they're just like, hey everybody, but they're just like they captured him or something, like, what's up?
Yeah,
I mean,
could have been not Vlad's head.
They threw him out of a helicopter halfway back.
I think they had ways.
Exactly.
There's no way to know.
Off a flying bat. Yeah, crazy Vlad.
Okay,
serious guy.
That's our boy then. Hey, anything else about Vlad?
Yeah.
That was his whole life.
He died. He impaled people.
It's true.
Yeah, not in that order, but
he lived his best life.
Is there any other funny stories about him that you would be like interesting to know?
Funny stories about Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, back in high school. Yeah,
you're not going to believe this one hilarious fact about Vlad the Impaler.
I need clickbait. Come on.
I wish I had more for you, but yeah, that's pretty much sums him up. As he was.
You can make something up.
I can make something up.
We wouldn't know.
He had a micro penis.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that's not true.
Yeah. He was hung.
You don't get that nickname.
Yeah.
With a microphone on the
false. He's compensating. Yeah. I don't know.
Hilarious.
Have you guys ever heard of the Princes in the Tower?
Never heard of the Princes in the Tower, I don't think.
Nope.
So, Richard III, King of England, his older brother was Edward IV, and when Edward IV died, he had a son who was a miner. And at this time,
okay, what term? Like a miner in the coal fields, or like a miner?
Dude, he's a king.
Like he was.
Come on.
Okay, I just clarified.
He's young.
He was like a child.
Okay.
They don't usually send princes off to the mines.
Just clarify.
So in this time period,
okay, yeah.
If you ascended the throne as a child,
right?
You had to do a stint in the mines first.
You'd have to do a stint in the mines to prove you're worthy. And you'd
have your own gems for your crown. Sorry, go ahead.
You'd have somebody appointed as a regent,
right,
to rule in your stead. And this is during the period called the Wars of the Roses. So it was houses of the same dynasty fighting for the throne of England.
Hauntingly beautiful. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So
Romantic.
So Edward IV dies, and then his son, who is, they call him Edward V. He never really ruled.
So just a child.
There was an immediate, he wasn't in London at the time, and there was an immediate search for him because it was who is going to control this child?
Right.
Is it going to be his mother and her faction, or is it going to be Richard, who is the Duke of Gloucester at the time? And there's eventually the little boy and his younger brother. They're captured by Richard and his forces, and they're taken to London, where they're kept in the Tower. And those two little boys were disinherited. Richard said he had the legitimate claim to the throne, so he overthrew his nephew, and those two little boys disappeared and were never seen again.
That's horrifying.
Yeah,
Is that how it ends?
That's how it ends.
Oh, Jesus.
But
Richard is not a good guy.
I mean, that ends badly because Richard III is a villain in Shakespeare. Shakespeare.
You do say things differently.
Shakespeare's play. Yeah. Shakespeare wrote a play about him. Richard III.
Right.
He's this hunchbacked, evil monster.
Yeah.
Quasimodo.
And actually, probably about 10 or 12 years ago maybe, they found Richard's body was never found. He died at Bosworth Field, Battle of Bosworth Field. And they never had his body. And then they dug up a parking lot near the battle, and they found him. And sure enough, he had scoliosis.
Yes.
Yeah. But they DNA tested him with like the modern royals just to make sure that.
So was he inbred?
No, he just had.
I guess they all.
I mean, probably
Yeah.
to a certain extent, but not especially so. He just had scoliosis.
Oh yeah. Curvy spine. The devil's roller coasters. Yeah. It's pretty.
Yes. So
He offed his nephews, took over power after his dad died, or his brother died.
his older brother, yeah.
Yeah.
So he killed his older brother's sons.
Yeah. What a piece.
Yeah, and then he took the throne for himself, and he only reigned for 2 years because Henry Tudor came and defeated him at the Battle of Bosworth. And
That scoliosis bastard was dug down.
You said a curvy spine is the devil's roller coaster.
I sure did. Yes.
I missed that.
That's a really crazy thing to say. That's a highly unhinged thing to just say. Anyway, I had to go circle back on that one. Yeah, that was good.
I can't take all the credit. That's from The Simpsons.
Oh.
Principal Skinner says.
Oh, okay.
But yes, 99% of stuff that I say that actually makes somewhat sense is from The Simpsons.
That's why I don't get the reference, because I felt like I'd seen a lot of Simpsons. But
Yeah.
every time somebody's like, "You see that one?" I'm like,
Oh, dude, I quote the most randomest shit that like 9 times out of 10 you might not even realize, but I'll give him credit. I'll give The Simpsons credit if I have to.
all the dumb stuff I say that you think is just dumb, it's actually just a reference that you don't understand.
If you think it's good,
It's better.
It was original, yeah.
Perfect. Who else? What else can we think of?
So I thought of two that I'll put a disclaimer on because it's we don't know if it's true.
Somewhat embellished.
Well, okay, so I'll start off with Gilles de Rais. Gilles de Rais was a French noble and a companion of Joan of Arc. And so at this during his lifetime, he's basically like a hero. But in the feudal hierarchy of things, I guess, he pissed off the wrong people, and they got him tried and convicted for murdering up to 200 young boys.
Whoa.
Who he was alleged to have brought into his home, and he had like some sort of torture chamber where he hang them up and torture them and rape them and kill them.
So this was
But it was a falsified story?
So that's the debate. So some people think it's true, and other people think that he only admitted to it because they threatened him.
They tortured him or whatever.
Well, they threatened him with torture and excommunication, and it's the latter part that's like pretty important because he was religious.
He doesn't want to be
people were.
Yeah, like separated from God forever.
Well, yeah, that's basically saying he's banished to hell.
Yeah.
He's so
Scary.
you don't want that.
When you believe that, it's real scary.
he likely took that into consideration, and so yeah, he admitted to these things, but there's a lot of people think that he did it under duress.
Sorry, what was he? He was a
noble.
so just like a
One of the
he was-
higher ups alongside Joan of Arc.
Yeah. So he was a military commander.
okay.
So yeah. Anyways,
Gilles de Rais.
he made plenty of enemies in his time, and they are the ones that took the charges on him, or they pressed charges on him and
sully his name.
To sully his name. And people did that a lot back in the day, and they would make these extraordinary claims. And
well, why not? You realize you could just slander somebody and it would actually fuck up their life.
Yeah.
There's no way to disprove it.
Yeah.
Well, it ended his life.
Well, exactly.
They executed him.
Right.
Politics.
To essentially just get someone killed if you just insinuate or say whatever.
Yeah. But if you read up on him, the charges are horrifying. If they're true.
If they're true, that's a real bad dude.
Yeah. If they're true. But yeah, so there's
if they're not, then that sucks that like you're say YOLO, you only live once. And that's your life, and then that's how you go down in history.
I know that there's probably some people right now who are sitting in prison right now wrongfully accused, right? That's kind of like what that is going on, right?
100% there is.
People think that they killed and, did whatever else, and they didn't.
There was a guy in the news probably a couple months ago who got exonerated after spending like 50 years in the slammer.
Oh my God.
Which is
for a murder he didn't commit.
How do you get here's $1 billion and a license to kill and a bunch of other, what do you give this guy? Like,
nothing.
Here's our full pack that we've been working on. Like, what do you?
He's an old man. He's like, and prison doesn't, you're not.
It's not a nice time.
You're not thriving health wise.
No, God, no. And so it's like, have fun with maybe 10 years if you're lucky outside of this. And then the other thing too, that like I've seen that a few times with people being wrongfully accused of murder or whatever, then going to jail and serving a long time. And like, I think like the majority of them are just happy that they survived long enough to get out of jail. And then they're not dying with that
on their name.
Exactly.
I think that at that point,
thank God.
It's nothing to do with their life or their quality of life at that point, because all that's like forfeit. But what they really, I bet the number one most important goal of your life at that time would be clearing your name.
Exactly.
And being like, I did not do this shit. This has been done to me. And imagine the validation that man feels after 50 years of being like having his life stolen. He's still persevered through. He still managed to get this far. And then they found out, I'm sorry, it was someone else. Your name is cleared. Oops. It's like the ultimate validation, like the ultimate I told so.
Yeah, I picked a whole bouquet of oopsie daisies. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. And here they are for you. I hope you enjoy your rest of your life, sir. And apologies about that whole 50-year jail sentence. Whoops.
Yeah, the problem too is like the system doesn't have a vested interest in agreeing with you
no,
or taking up your cause.
No,
so that's why you have things like the Freedom Project.
Yes.
Yeah. People literally profit off of you being in jail, so they don't want to free you if
the system is people, and people don't like to admit they were wrong, especially when they truly believe they were right,
and when there's accountability. And when there's like liability, right? You can't admit you were wrong because you will go to jail or whatever, right? Like you can't.
Yeah.
But it's tough too sometimes because like, and I'm not saying that people deserve to be in jail for 50 years for something they didn't do.
Wait, you're not?
I'm not saying that at all. Let me put that on. Like, let me state that clearly. Yeah,
a wild take coming.
There's like some of the people that have had that happen to them aren't necessarily the greatest people. They didn't commit murder, but they've had pretty questionable life choices to get up to that point.
Yeah.
And like
so you're saying it's their fault?
No.
Oh.
It's just like, it's one of those things where it's just like, I think that's half the reason why they understand and they're just like, fucking thank God I'm out of here, is because it's like, you know what, I wasn't a perfect person and I contributed to solely their own name, I guess, to put them in that situation.
I think this is very situationally based, and I think that generalizations might not work out here.
No. Yeah. Generally, I think anybody that does anything bad is scum. No.
Yeah.
There's some people that have actually, I don't know, they were there when murdered. I mean, I can't remember. There's a scenario where the guy was there when the guy got murdered, but he wasn't the one that actually pulled the trigger.
I got one for you. There was this guy on an episode of Forensic Files.
Love that show.
And he had a rap sheet and was a bad egg. But he legitimately got jailed for a murder he didn't commit. And nobody was helping him. And so he did, he got like a law degree in prison. Like he,
damn.
He didn't literally, I don't think he literally had a law degree. He did a lot of studying.
He's going to Harvard.
Yeah. And that's what he used his downtime for, was reading the books and making a case for himself. And then,
got himself out.
Incredible.
Yeah. In his interview, he's still like, fuck the police. And like,
why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not be.
Yeah, I know.
Especially if you just beat them and you're out of jail. You're like, you motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Fuck you all. Forever. You know, like, fuck, as if.
Again,
That's the number one person who's allowed to say fuck the police.
Yeah.
for sure.
30 years for being a bad egg. Yeah.
It's a situation where you can do that. But this at the same time, he was also like a career criminal.
Yeah, but he's already going to say fuck
no
the
wonder
police.
they were so convinced.
They're already fucking with his shit.
That's what for I'm not saying that those people deserve to be thrown away for something they didn't do. I'm just saying, like, if you're a criminal, yeah, exactly.
I know what you're saying. We just sound like assholes when we say it.
At the risk of like reiterating a bunch, we definitely understand what you mean.
Okay,
what's next?
what's the next guy?
It's actually a woman,
Oh,
Elizabeth Báthory.
Nice.
wait, how do you say it?
Well, there's like the
I don't say bath, I say bat.
Báthory.
Yeah, Báthory, because she's Hungarian.
Cool.
So
They don't pronounce the th as much there. They're just Báthory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so she was a noble. Nobles didn't necessarily well, let's say they were all jockeying for power.
Okay.
In this time, and she's accused of murdering up to 600 girls from her castle,
Bathing in their blood.
all that.
Damn.
But again, it's just one of those things. It's like Gilles de Rais. It's
Could be fabricated.
very very likely fabricated, because 600 is a lot.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's a busy time. You don't even get sick and tired of it?
Yeah,
A lot of the evidence that was used against her was something somebody had heard from somebody else. It was never
friend of a friend of mine. Yeah.
exactly. So just enough people didn't like her, and they were in positions of enough power to get her convicted. And so she spent. That's another thing, is allegedly she spent the rest of her life bricked up in a tower. Other people say she's basically just under house arrest and had free roam of the castle.
Right.
But anyways, so she's another one of history's quote unquote monsters.
So
you don't know
so
for
what
sure.
was she? What was her title? Was she just a girl in a castle?
Yeah.
I think she's a countess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. And they thought that she was evil and just had it out for girls.
Well, that's what she's accused of, basically, that because she was known as like one of the most beautiful women in Europe.
They were saying that her and so people were envious of her, right? And they were saying that she was basically like a witch who was like stealing youth from young girls by bathing in her blood.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, oh, this is how she stays so young and beautiful. She's like sapping the life force from like little peasant girls, by the hundreds.
And it's like, okay, can you name 3? And it's like,
Maybe they could.
Little
Those people
Susie.
probably did disappear. Who knows who really
people are
disappeared?
where they went. Yeah.
All these people who accused her probably were the ones who fucking did this shit.
And then blamed it on her.
Easy scapegoat, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no like forensics.
CCTV. Yeah.
Right? There's no anything. You just say word of mouth. I heard that this happened. Okay, well, we'll write that down as part of the facts that we're building a case here.
She's hot, so she's clearly doing something. Yeah.
yeah,
Totally.
people are pissed.
Yeah, no, she came from a powerful family, so people
Politics.
coming for them anyway.
I
Because
guess.
I want to say her uncle maybe was the king of Hungary. So
That's pretty high.
she's from a powerful
Influential.
Yes.
Yeah. So, people had an interest in bringing that family down. So if you gotta, pick at their various people and do it that way, they'll do it.
Yeah.
It's a literal Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
The Game of Thrones has absolutely nothing on medieval history.
No, that's like, yeah,
Absolutely
It's
nothing.
like the Disney version.
it is.
fact,
I think that's why people are
Game
trying
of
to.
Thrones, George R. R. Martin.
Yeah.
he borrowed liberally from history
Oh wow.
to make the scenes in Game of Thrones. Like
Jesus.
Yeah, it seems like he's so fucked up or whatever and perverted and stuff, but like, dude, no, that's just how humans are. Like, he's just talking about how medieval times were. There's no fucking rules, man.
Yeah.
Monsters and brawn and sword and steel. That's what
Survival of the fittest.
whatever you want, man. There's nothing you can really like do to stop a guy with a sword. Like
Yeah.
a bunch of dudes with swords and armor and stuff. You fucked.
Yeah. You just like take what you need. Yeah.
Do what you want.
Crazy, man. Okay, I think we're gonna go to our first break here. What's our first sponsor, Dan?
It's called History and Me. It's to find out if you are related to any villains. It's a genetics test online to find out if you're related to the worst people in history, villains and me.
Can you cycle that out to be good people?
No, actually, there's just a filter that basically makes sure that, and it'll find slightly less worse people that you're related to until you find the least worst person you're related to, which could be like your mother eventually at the end of the line. Unless your mother was terrible.
She was a saint, so.
Okay, well then you probably find her last.
Okay, perfect. Okay, History and Me.
History and Me.
Use our code, TRMF.
These are my villains. Use code TRMF to get 19% off at your Villains and Me.
Thank you. Okay, cheers.
Hello, please. Well, that's disturbing to find out that I'm related to.
The lead singer of Boston?
Yeah.
Crazy, man.
I had a feeling. Turns out it was more. Anyways.
Good. I was like, wait, where's he going with this?
Yeah. Lever boy. So,
Attacking me again.
So, but speaking of Boston, that's an interlude, interway. Species.
Interlude?
Interlude, yes.
Interway.
It sounds like a tech company. By Interway and Milton Bradley.
That is our sponsor, Interway.
You have a story about the man from Boston.
well, I mean, it's a theory about why he killed himself, which is that he had he was living with his fiance's sister, and she found a battery-operated camera in her bedroom.
Oh no!
He admitted to planting it.
How old was she?
Like an adult, but like.
Oh, so it was just more of like a Tommy Peeper, peeping Tom.
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to say.
Wow, dude.
He was being a perv, and it got caught, and that was not very long before he killed himself.
What was his name?
Brad Delp.
Why would? Okay,
that seems a little over the top.
You're a fucking international like rock god
legend.
Why can you not just go peep at your neighbor? Like, why doesn't he just have the ego to be like, yeah, I can peep wherever? Well, like some of these guys like sleep with underage girls and do all kinds of creepy shit.
Lost ways of getting a boner. That's why he did it.
Really? So he's just. I was like, damn, man, he's been through a lot, I guess.
Because he was a pervert. He wanted to spy on his fiance's sister,
which is
I didn't realize that he knew who it was.
Oh yeah, so I guess
that was the first part. It was his he was living with his fiance's sister, and he planted a camera.
Probably a bad idea to do.
Bedroom. Yeah, it's a really bad idea.
Was his fiance there?
He planted a camera. Okay.
She would have found out.
This is different. You said he's a peeping Tom. I expect him. He's like out in the bushes, like peeking through a window, and someone caught him, and he's like, "Oh no, I have to, end my life." I'm like, okay, so setting up a camera in your fiance's sister's thing is a little bit different.
Yeah.
That's a little more premeditated, a little bit more gross.
Yeah.
And okay, sure.
It's pretty bad.
He had a problem and then he got depressed about it, and your cat is licking my hand incessantly.
Yes.
Yeah. They don't know that's why he did it. It's just like.
But is that story well, yeah.
Hold on, I don't know.
Is that story like proven?
Yeah, he admitted to it.
Hey, jeez.
Yeah.
Because I'm a fan of Boston, and I did not know that. I know he did the old car in the garage and turn on the car thing.
Brutal.
Yeah, well, he lit
exhaust.
That was like a secondary measure, and he lit a couple of charcoal barbecues as well.
Jesus, yeah, he was really making sure it got done. And then the other thing was, I know that like he actually had a long, hard road to become Boston, or to be successful with Boston. And apparently he was trying for like a decade, and like all the record labels were just ignoring him. And they're very talented musicians.
Yeah.
And that last, like the self-titled, I think it was the first one released with the biggest hits or whatever. Anyways, was his last ditch effort. And he's like, if this doesn't make it, I'm done.
They did it in like a basement. It wasn't even in a recording studio.
Right.
Because their guitar guy is like really, really technically adept.
Yeah.
And was able to
make it work.
Make crazy sound effects and
low budget.
Yeah. They I saw a documentary one time where they went to the house that he used to live at, and he was like, yeah, we recorded everything here.
And then it was just like, what how?
Yeah, the person that owned the house is like, holy shit.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Crowley's gonna
unplug some stuff,
fuck something up with her
cat is getting real excited, and my hand is literally like
she's a liquor
wet from cat spit. I'm gonna go wash my hand.
Okay, well we'll keep talking. So
you have to wait. Just a couple seconds of silence.
Yeah. Dead air,
and a tap running. Yeah,
you're excused.
My hand is extremely wet.
It is like dripping on her seat.
Yeah. she's neurotic.
That
She loves your whatever cat animal you have. She loves it.
Yeah, she's
All up in his headphones now.
Writing it all up on his headphones.
Come on, Crow. Why you gotta ruin stuff all the time?
I just want him to be a part of me forever.
She's trying to wear him, it looks like.
well, anyway, should we get back to
The peeping Tom, the Tommy Peeper, the villains. Yes, Yes, of course. Oh, yes, of course. So, back to the villains.
talking about Home Life from Boston because we like
in the break,
Offline.
and then I'm like, wait, because I thought I knew this whole story.
oh no.
No, okay, so no, I won't tell that story, but it almost happened again.
Wait, what? Tell it. You have to tell it.
So Doug, the new cat,
Yep.
he's takes some pretty messy craps.
Yeah.
And he fucking hopped up on the coffee table a couple of days ago and like sat his anus down on my phone. And I was like, no. And I like lifted him off. And there's a fucking fresh
Shit.
like slide of shit on my phone.
What?
Yeah, it was disgusting.
Bro, Doug is the real villain.
Anyone who knows me knows I'm a bit of a germaphobe. Yeah. I mean,
Crowley just sat her ass right on his phone right
yeah, it was the same thing. Luckily,
Like
she's
it's flashback.
Can you stop her from getting in there, please? That's not for cats. That's marijuana.
that could be for cats.
Nope.
I think a veterinarian would say otherwise, Dan.
Yes.
Okay, we're getting back into it. So, all right,
So much bullshit. You got
off the rails.
grow up.
Yes.
It's a shame you can't edit.
Yeah, I know.
Wait, what? You can? You had a second guy, Dan, that you said you were going to potentially talk
Actually, you know what? I rescinded that one a little bit because Ivan the Terrible, as terrible as he sounds, he was just more like, mighty and scary more so than terrible, really.
Well,
What did he do?
Terrible is like
Like awful, and not in a negative way, but more like awe-inspiring.
yeah,
like terrifying. Like I don't know.
yeah. That's more where his name comes from.
Terrible, like
He's
extreme great power. Not so much like this is awful and terrible.
He's
Negative.
in Russian. He's Ivan Grozny, which is like it's Ivan the Great.
Exactly. Yeah, there we go. The great.
Yeah.
It's like mighty or whatever.
Oh,
He has a terrible strength.
and for sure he was
a murderer.
he was violent. He killed his own son. There's like a famous painting of him holding his son after he clubbed him to death.
Yeah, that's the
Why did
main
he
thing
do
that
that?
they say was evil.
Yeah, because he was prone to rage. But was that's another thing that I was saying is just like
Word of mouth.
separate the myth from the man. And was he any more terrible than anybody else who lived in his age?
Yeah.
Maybe slightly, but not like. I mean, people.
Think how many dudes were not kings or lords or anything, but they beat the shit out of their kids and families and were drunk all the time and stuff. It's like they would have been villains if they had power, probably.
If they had a title,
You know, but like these were just the people who were running unchecked with nobody to stop them, basically,
right.
Well, and they just lived
in a lot of cases.
in a violent time where they're jockeying for power. So he threw off what they called the Tatar yoke, which is the Mongols still ruled Russia at this time, essentially.
Right.
They directly controlled an area in the south, and then there were little Russian states in the north, and he ruled one of them. And he basically, I almost said beat off the Mongols.
Whatever they had to do.
He fought them off. And he really, really expanded Muscovy, which was what he ruled.
Okay, well, it wasn't terrible in the sense that like he's a villain. It was just terrible in the sense.
Yeah, that's more where the translation.
I learned that before I came in, so I was like maybe not gonna.
You just
go down the road with-
assume he's a bad guy with a name like that.
Well, Ivan the Terrible sounds like he sounds like he's closer to Vlad the Impaler or something like that, right? But
Ivan the Adequate, yeah.
I'm actually looking at my
Boring.
so I make sure I didn't.
Ivan the Firm but fair. No,
Firm but fair. Yeah.
So this guy, he's firm, but he's fair. Yes.
But yeah, like I mean, you can go back to his time. He's a contemporary of Elizabeth I.
well, I don't know.
Elizabeth I wasn't particularly pleasant.
Who's that? Like the queen?
Yeah.
Why wasn't she pleasant? Oh, beheadings? Or is that? Am I getting Alice in Wonderland?
She beheaded
Henry VIII.
Mary Queen of Scots.
Oh.
Mary Queen of Scots posed a threat to her.
So she just had to.
Well, mostly because she uncovered a plot that Mary Queen of Scots was part of. But yes,
so she had reason.
She was like a good ruler at this time was ruthless.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's not like it's not fair to call them like monsters back then, because like it's even like right now how you could say a president is ruthless in that he like presses a button and a bunch of fucking drone bombs kill a bunch of people, right? That's pretty fucking gnarly and evil. But at the same time, it's like, well, that's his job also. Like that is actually
decisions.
We expect him to do that shit because he's in that role, right? The king is going to, when somebody fucks up in a capital way, somebody's head's going to roll, right? That's their job.
Right.
They're expected to behead people who are going to commit treason and stuff.
Elizabeth in a timeout. Elizabeth was a female ruler in a man's world.
So she got to be overcompensating for how fucking vicious.
And there was a lot going on. Like, there were still a lot of Catholics in England that wanted a Catholic ruler.
Right.
And she was a Protestant.
Right.
So it was, she was surrounded by conspiracy.
I wonder how much blood has been spilled over Catholic versus Protestant.
Millions.
Yeah.
In the 30
millions of blood.
In the 30 Years' War alone, possibly like 3 to 7 million people, and primarily in Germany. Terrible.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Time to be alive.
God, yeah. What do? You're just looking over your shoulder the whole time and just trying to keep straight.
What you do, I assume, is just constantly look up.
Try not to get
God
massacred by marauding Swedes or other foreign armies.
Or you just like rest knowing that you're, you believe that you're going to heaven, and so it's fine that you're going to get decapitated really soon.
Yeah, this was just all for the next level. Yeah.
There is the reason I said the Swedes is they were known for funneling urine down people's throats and then like burning them alive.
Okay, well, I mean,
and torturing people.
That sounds highly undesirable. So it would make me not want to fight the Swedes.
They were like a formidable force at the time.
Yeah.
So was there a purpose behind that?
You see him like mid-battlefield just pissing down a guy's like gorget?
To inspire terror. Because it's probably the 30 Years' War was Protestant against Catholic.
And would they carry jugs of piss, or was it like peeing in their mouth?
No. This is like
we carry piss.
What happens if you get stage fright? You're outside.
About like people who are captured. What's their fate now?
I don't think these dudes got stage fright.
No.
He's like, I can't get it going. I can't get the flow going. You just wait there. Keep your mouth open.
Half them can't afford pants in the first place. So who cares?
Maybe they didn't do the pee thing like en masse, but they did it amongst other horrible things, and
obviously enough that it was famous enough to like be a deterrent.
It was to inspire terror.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty pretty workable. Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, if you just heard of a guy that this happened to, you'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It might be the worst thing you've ever heard, because it's not like you've heard all the other terrible things. Like, we know all sorts of terrible things that have gone down.
Because of the interweb.
Yeah, at the time. It's just only whatever you and your friends have thought of in your short life of 20 years or whatever the fuck.
And your small community.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when someone says, yeah, apparently this is what the Swedes do, you're like, oh my God, that's actually the worst thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Because why haven't you heard anything worse than that?
Yeah.
Oh, and they rape all of our women and burn our cities down. Oh,
that's a good way to get us to hate them and definitely try to kill them every time we see them.
Yeah.
Or like we should probably surrender our town instead of making them siege us for months.
Right. Exactly. Maybe this will go easier if we
that was a Mongol thing. The Mongols
sieges?
Well, the Mongols had a policy where they would like come up to a city.
Mongols are
either submit or don't, right?
The Mongols like
Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they had a policy where like they'd come up to a city.
Yep.
And they'd be like, surrender to us and we will simply just make you pay taxes and you can live your lives as you choose.
Join us or be slaughtered.
But if you don't surrender to us, we'll annihilate your city and everyone living within the walls. And
fill you full of piss.
Very often.
No, that's the Swedes.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We'll fill you full of piss.
We'll fill you full of piss. What did he say at the end? Maybe we better listen to him.
Yeah, I'll surrender the city. What if they get in?
It's like, yeah. I was thinking about fighting back up until that last thing. Yeah.
Those helms they're wearing look a lot like funnels.
So plenty of cities took their chances. Yeah, paid for it.
Takes your chances.
Yeah, I mean, a hubristic leader would be like, "Fuck you! You're a bunch of barbarians, and we're gonna slaughter you." And then they just get owned by these like horseback archers.
They did this in Baghdad in 1258.
They try to resist.
The caliph himself was like, "Nope."
No.
And if you don't know what the caliph is like a Islamic pope, basically.
the religious king in the area.
Yeah. So anyways, he was like, nay, and then the Mongols got in and sacked Baghdad, killed
Sacked dad right in the bag.
Yeah,
Maybe all of them.
they destroyed the city. They killed, possibly, well, this is probably an exaggerated number again, but like up to 2 million people. They
Any million
destroyed the House
people.
of Wisdom, which was a big library and university, and they destroyed everything in what's now Iraq, like all the irrigation infrastructure that had been built up over thousands of years. But notably, they took the caliph and they put him in a leather sack and they stomped him to death with horses.
Holy.
So yeah,
That's a brutal way to go. Is he old?
I mean,
he's 34. That's pretty old.
I don't think he was very young, but I don't know how old he was.
It's just like
That's what they did. They stomped him to death with horses.
That's not the worst way to go. I mean, that's terrible, but it's not the worst way to go. Getting beaten to death could be worse.
right.
Yeah.
In those days.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Unless the horse just like stepped on his junk a bunch of times.
Kept missing vital
that's
organs.
how he died. Oh my god.
My joints. It's like being broken on the wheel.
I mean, it's very, very fucked up and horrible. But hopefully, he just got nailed in the head at some point, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then
You
just
know,
lights out.
Rather than like, there's a lot of, as we know,
I just can't help-
ways that people have died.
But picture like an old man, innocent old man, and you just shoving him in a bag, and he's all frail, and it's
I
just
don't
like
think he's innocent. I think he's a religious.
He sacrificed his
leader.
own city for like his
his
pride.
Yeah, his pride. Yeah.
okay. I guess he deserved the bag.
I guess he just weighed his options and was like, nah, we can withstand this Mongol horde, and then was wrong.
Yeah.
Baghdad was like one of the mightiest cities in the Islamic world at the time. So it was like
He had like a 2% chance.
No, he probably thought he had
I thought he had a great
100% chance. He's like, I got my fucking city here. Are you kidding me? Who are you pushing around right now?
Yeah.
Fucking greatest city in the region. Like, are you fucking with me? And then they were like, yeah, we were going to kill you. And they did.
Yeah, the Mongols had already conquered China and took all their like. They had like
Secrets and skills.
Chinese like siege engineers.
And he was unaware to this guy.
Probably.
He probably didn't like comprehend what that meant.
Yeah.
Right? Like that
mass.
these guys have the technology of multiple nations coming against us because they have conquered previously, right?
Yeah,
That's scary.
Yeah.
And also
We have slingshots.
and also he's the leader of his religion, and
Yeah.
so he's probably like God's on my side
Yeah, that's a major source of hubris.
thing too. So,
God won't let this happen. Yeah.
But God did.
God,
God absolutely let it
he's
happen.
in the bag. You could step in now anytime, God. And he's like getting crunched. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just in a bag going, it's happening for a reason.
Yeah. The region never really recovered.
Yeah, clearly, yeah, no.
Like, it didn't
never
catch up.
rose to like a fucking like main power ever
It
again.
didn't catch up for centuries, and it's just been
Not fully necessary, but do you know what years this happened in?
1258.
Okay, well, there you go. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
1258. Crazy.
Ha.
It's a little while ago. Yeah. So, and it's never, so that's over like 800 years?
800 years, yeah, ish.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
I mean, like, what I mean by it's never recovered is yes, they rebuilt and they
They never regained their like power as a
exactly. It was like
as a world power like that.
Yeah,
right,
I mean, they just became part of one empire or another, and throughout the 20th century, they're just
Not one of the forefront countries like they were,
yeah.
and probably
Like, we know the story of Iraq in the 20th century,
Right.
So, yeah, it's a sad one.
It's yeah.
20th and 21st, I should say.
It's not very spooky either. So you have, how many people do you have that are bad? These are
You had a
villains.
pretty good list, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Let's go to another.
well, I thought maybe you guys had some in mind that you wanted to ask about, or
I'm not. You're steering the ship, man.
I had a couple of them. We started last episode. I screwed up because I thought that Matthew Begbie was like the hanging judge. I thought that he was like a super racist guy, and like a colonizer. But turned out that he was actually one of the most fair judges to the native people.
oh, okay,
It turned out, yeah. It seemed like he was one of the few people to like one of the first judges to actually like hang a white man who was guilty, and like instead of taking this other side, and he hung a bunch of corrupt chiefs as well. He hung like 6 chiefs or something. It was partially why he was like, people thought that he was a bad guy and stuff, but it's like it turned out that those guys were like really corrupt, and it just seemed like he was like a fair dude. He was the first judge to. We said this in the previous podcast. Now I'm just telling you, but he was one of the first people to like let people swear on an item that wasn't the Bible, like one of their own spiritual
Okay.
relics, which I think is actually like, that's not necessarily like Mr. Good Guy thing. That's just logical judge stuff, because why would you want somebody to swear on something that they find unsacred? Like, oh, sure, I'll swear on the Bible. I think this is a bunch of bullshit. It means nothing to me, so it's easy to swear on it. But if I swear on this like relic that I think is actually like
spiritual,
serious, then maybe I'll tell the truth, right? So anyway,
you can be tough and not sinister.
Yeah, right. Like, you don't have to necessarily be an evil monster, but it is like I said, it's his job to mete out justice, right? So like, if people are legit doing something wrong and they require hanging, that's what he did. And it's like,
so you're saying he's like pretty woke.
It seemed like he was actually one of the most woke people, especially for the time.
Yeah,
like he was one of the few people who actually kind of was.
It's like the 1870s,
fair regardless of race.
Ish, 1880s,
early Victoria.
Yeah. So anyway, you're familiar with him?
Yeah, vaguely. I've been on the ghost tours and stuff.
Yeah. Bing! All my history from that. Okay, so what's the next one on the list? We got time for like one or two more, I think.
Okay, well, I mean, like Joseph Stalin.
Oh, dude, yeah. That's when I actually think of the worst human ever to have lived. I think that's probably it.
Joseph Stalin? Is he related to Rocky Balboa?
Why would you say that?
I can't remember his damn first name.
Is he related to
Stallone?
Oh my God, dude!
Wow. I probably would have. I would have never put those two together.
No, I would have never thought like that's where you were going with it. But anyways,
so
Simpsons.
No, they're not related because Stalin means Man of Steel, and it's a nickname.
And Sylvester Stallone means Sylvester of Steel. Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
It's a revolutionary name that he adopted, like Lenin. Lenin was not Lenin's
Leningrad
actual last name,
right?
No, Stalin to me is and Hitler, obviously. Those two, they're probably like the scariest people.
How could you ever
who ever lived? Because I mean, like, you've got terrifying serial killers.
What year was this? Was Stalin around? I'm going to be
Stalin's a contemporary of Hitler.
You're right. So like the 50s.
He ruled the Soviet Union from the late 20s to his death in 1953.
Okay. And he was like, he worked alongside Hitler?
No. Well,
he's the leader of Russia.
Oh yeah, against
actually
right,
at the beginning
Hitler's Germany.
At the beginning of the war, they were in cahoots, but Hitler
made a mistake.
Invaded the Soviet Union.
So they
were no longer in cahoots.
Right.
They were like bitter enemies. They just made a peace with each other that suited both of them.
Right.
It's the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, where they basically were like, we won't attack each other and we'll divide Poland and the rest of Eastern Europe.
Agree to disagree so that we don't destroy each other.
Yeah. And Russia will supply Hitler with oil and all the other, resources that they need.
So why is he the number one villain? What did he do? I've never really dug into him.
Stalin, okay.
No, I've heard of him, and I've heard of, like, I don't know, he's like the old Putin, but...
Oh, you've heard of the gulags, right?
Yep.
So he created the Gulag Archipelago.
Okay.
Which is a name that Solzhenitsyn gave it because he was there,
right,
as a prisoner.
It was like a camp.
It was a series of camps.
Yeah.
An archipelago is like a group of many tiny islands.
Okay, break it down a little bit just for the regulars.
The Gulag system was a system of work prisons,
work camps.
Okay. Yeah.
And they would put them in some of the most inhospitable places to develop the area. So there were lots of places in the Soviet Union that were just Arctic wastelands. But say they wanted a mine, or they wanted to start like a logging camp, or a coal, or
gulag,
close to the gulag. Yeah.
Anyways, they'd imprison people, and Stalin gave the authorities quotas of people to arrest.
Right.
So you had to make up a bunch of bullshit, just
whatever charges. Yeah.
And then slavery, essentially.
Yeah. So it was North Korea before North Korea.
Damn.
He set up North Korea. Or rather, he put somebody in charge of doing that, but. He
created
North Korea is modeled after Stalin's Soviet Union.
Oh, okay.
So,
which is why it's terrifying.
Yeah, and he's terrifying because you'll see if you look at his government in his early days, those people are not alive. Like 10 years later, he purged them in like the late 1930s.
Like he would always just like cycle out his own people and just murder the fuck out of anybody who said the wrong thing. And he was just paranoid, ultra paranoid, like the capital most paranoid guy you could ever imagine. He thought everybody was trying to get him, and so he would just murder.
Clean slate.
Yep.
Which is like ironically possibly why he died, because he had think he had a stroke or some kind of brain thing.
Aneurysm, yeah.
Anyways, he was in his DACA, and he had a medical issue, and people were too afraid to open the door. They were knocking and knocking and knocking, and he was laying there on the couch for hours. He had or on the floor rather. He had pissed himself, and he was like not there.
He might have been able to have been saved had they been not terrified of being basically executed for opening and disturbing him.
Well, and the other thing too is he had been persecuting doctors just before this.
Jesus.
So
nobody wants to be like, hi, I'm a doctor. I'm here in front of Joseph Stalin.
Yeah.
And they were ringing his phone. They were knocking on his door. They were too afraid to come in.
And he was probably just like hearing it all, but like slowly dying.
He couldn't do anything
because he was stroking out. Yeah.
So they put him on the couch and called in some doctors. And it was a team of doctors who were basically shitting themselves because,
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could just point at.
Well, they
have to die.
They were being threatened. There's a guy named Lavrenti Beria, who's the head of the NKVD, which became the KGB.
Okay. Yep.
He was like threatening the doctors.
Probably like, if you don't save this guy, our leader right now, your whole family's going to die in terrible ways. And they're like, fuck.
Yeah. Beria got arrested and executed just after Stalin died. He only lasted he didn't last.
His main man.
He didn't last the rest of the year.
Who's that?
Beria. Who was he? He was the head of the secret police.
Okay.
Why
he was a monster in his own right.
So people like they rose up after Stalin died, kind of, and took him.
No. So there was a bit of jockeying for power after Stalin died.
Okay.
So within his own
cabinet or whatnot.
Yeah. So there was a bit of a power struggle. Beria had hoped to be the new leader, and everybody else in the cabinet hated him.
It was like,
so they
happened.
They had him arrested and shot. So yeah, he didn't live out the year after Stalin died,
and he probably knew it was coming for him.
He would have suspected.
Yeah.
But he would have been also
trying to grab the power for himself,
taking steps to But he didn't have a whole lot of support because he was a horrible, horrible human being, and he delighted in tormenting the other guys just as much as Stalin did because he was in Stalin's favor and he could do it.
And Papa Stalin
bully
went away, and he's like, oh shit, now I have nobody back.
Now the bully is in trouble.
Afraid of him.
No, Beria used to have women like taken off the streets and brought to him so he could rape them.
My God.
Yuck.
And like when they dug up his like garden, there were like bodies in it.
Oh my God.
No, he was a monster too.
Oh, like, and they killed him after too.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Or let them out, but like most likely, like he had no reason to let them live.
Well, yeah.
Just no regard.
Stalin imprisoned his officials' wives.
Yeah, like just
like he
to keep them at complete control, right? Like I have your wife in a cage.
His personal
do what I say.
His personal secretary's last name was Proskobyshev. He imprisoned his wife on charges of
treason or some
shit. Yeah.
And the guy really wanted her let out, and Stalin was just basically like, because he loved her. It was a legit, romance. But anyways, Stalin just said, "Don't worry, we'll get you a new one." And then
after,
yeah,
what?
Yeah,
why wasn't he just let her out and we're cool?
Because he's a monster. Because he's controlling people with psychological horror.
Yeah. This is your new wife, and it's like, but what?
But he had allegedly there were elevators going because the Kremlin is it's where his main.
It's like the Pentagon.
Residence was, right?
Okay. Yep.
It's more like the White House.
Oh, okay.
Like mixed in with the Pentagon.
Okay.
So the Kremlin has apartments that if you're high enough in the government, you'd live in one of these apartments. But he had allegedly elevators that would lead into their like closets, like their walk-in closets.
Yeah.
Where he could send the secret police in the middle of the night without anybody seeing.
That's terrifying.
He wanted to take you. Yeah.
Did they know?
Horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like what's that trap door in my closet?
An elevator in the closet. I'm not going to ask questions. I'm just going to really behave myself.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he murdered millions of his own people.
How many people do you think died because of Stalin?
Well, some people have said 30 million. That's when you include like famines and things.
30 million. You think about how many people 1,000 people is.
Yeah. 30 million. 30 million.
1,000 people times 30.
Really? 30 million might be a high mark, but millions through famine.
Unreal.
Indirectly.
At the very least, in the high hundreds of thousands for being shot.
Just direct bullets.
Yep. And then World War II, which is not,
his fault entirely.
Not entirely. But in World War II, the Soviet Union lost like 27 million people.
Oui.
So you tack what Stalin took from the Soviet Union along with that, and I think Russia still has demographic problems. I heard a figure not too long ago, and it was something like 3/4 of all the men born in the Soviet Union in 1923 were dead by 1945.
3/4.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So if you're a descendant from that, you're lucky.
Yeah.
I guess so.
But I mean, like, if
you're really lucky, because it's like 3-1 women over there.
It'd be like it'd be like looking at I think I maybe talked about this the last time. There's the population trees.
Yeah.
So it'll be a tree. It'll be a tree in the sense that like older people are represented at the top, and it expands out as there are more younger people. Of
course,
et cetera. And the left half is men, the right half is women. Well, after the First World War, if you look at the population trees of Germany and France, for instance, there's going to be a huge gouge out the male side.
Yeah,
because they are all war dead.
Yeah,
you're going to see that in Russia too.
Right.
After the Second World War,
just a massive sweep out of the male side.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I think so. Like, I think if we're talking about the worst people of all time, I think because there's a bit more humanity, you would think, in the 40s than back in the back in the medieval times. So I think that adds a level of
you would think, but the 1940s is when we had industrial death camps.
Exactly. Well, that's what I mean. But you think we're evolved enough at that point to at least have some sense of humanity. Where back in medieval times, it was like, yeah, you could blame it on the caveman brain. But so that's why
it's not that long ago. And listen, like,
yeah,
and you're talking about caveman brain. We are still in the caveman.
Oh yeah,
there has been no evolution since then. There's been not enough time.
But like, I'm just saying in the fact of like, there's from 1200 when whoever that whatever to 1940, you would expect some level of evolution with humanity.
You would hope, but it didn't happen.
No,
we're saying
yeah. Of course. I'm just saying that's why it's extra fun.
So if you're ever in like a say a medieval history class, one thing that I think probably every professor would instill in the students is. Remember that these people are every bit as complicated as you or I.
Yeah.
They just look at the world with a completely different worldview. Like they see things much differently than we do.
Why wouldn't you? They're in a different reality.
We're separated by 800 years.
Yeah.
And there are things that are much more important to them than would be to us.
Right.
There are things that we know of that they don't.
Right.
They don't know about.
That's what I mean, essentially. Right? Yeah, exactly. So, that's where I'm coming from.
They don't know about germs. They don't know about
exactly
amazing amounts of stuff they don't understand, right? And then so everything's motivated differently.
Because we were talking on a podcast.
Expectancy is lower, so.
Oh yeah, it's like you're trying to get as much done in less time. We were talking about who the worst person in the world was on like a few, and that's where El Hardo came from. And who did I say? I said, oh, the Scientology guy. What's his name?
L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, I'm like, that's the worst guy in the world. And he's like, you think that's worse than the H-bomb?
I can't remember who I was listening to. Some stand-up comedian. And it's just like, you know why L. Ron Hubbard can't be a religious figure? It's because he had to stand in line at the DMV to get a license.
That's hilarious.
What kind of religious figure is that? It's just a guy.
He's just a human. Yeah.
Just a guy.
Just a fucking guy.
That even skip
a guy who my dad will tell you wrote horrible science fiction books. My dad owned a bookstore.
That's fine. L. Ron Hubbard writing horrible science fiction books and then creating a horrible, like, not even that cool religion.
Yeah.
That was his big
way to go, dude.
Well, it was failing, so he started targeting rich celebrities, and then it took off.
Perfect.
Because the rich celebrities are notoriously kind of dumb. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Brad Pitt.
Touch.
So
why did you say Brad Pitt? Why do you want to just like? Do you think he's a Scientologist?
He is. No, think of Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying.
One thing
Tom Cruise it is. Yeah.
I don't want to spread gossip to your millions of fans.
Yeah, I don't want Brad Pitt after me.
I did hear something about Brad Pitt that's kind of gross.
Oh, here we go.
Is when he was doing Inglourious Bastards.
Yep.
Eli Roth taught him the benefits of not showering all the time and just using like baby wipes.
Oh,
And so he just uses like
to this day.
himself with like baby wipes largely. Yeah.
So
What's wrong with that?
it's a little odd.
He'd be pretty stinky. Like if you're
No, he
not if
wouldn't.
you're not having like a proper shower, you're just baby wiping yourself all the time.
Dude, it's better than not. If you can't have a shower, then you do the baby wipe.
Okay, but here's another thing. Even if it is like cleaning you perfectly, you still smell like a giant baby. Like, would you not? They're scented.
Yeah, but it's scented like the wipes. It's not scented like baby.
I don't know.
It's like
Been around a
They
lot.
smell like flowers or whatever. It's
I bet-
what babies smell like. You don't.
Been around a lot of
I knew what you were saying.
post wipe, and it's
Jesus Christ.
It's like diaper smell, kind of. Yeah.
What in the fuck are you guys talking?
Yeah. Brad Pitt smells like
It
diapers.
smell like babies. Get out of here! What the hell's going on?
I think I just got myself like put on like a police watch list.
That's awesome.
For that?
Yeah.
No, because I was like, I've been around a lot of babies post wipe. Mr. Hitchin, why did you say that?
And why did you circle back to it also? I wasn't even thinking about it. Jesus Christ.
Because I wanted to
Turn it off. Turn it off.
to address it before the RCMP showed up.
Brad Pitt's going to show up before the RCMP.
Totally.
Pissed.
Oh, God.
Does it smell like?
Okay, well, that was a fun one.
Like a baby.
Is there any other bad guys that you want to talk about?
Do you want to talk about any serial killers? Or
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? So that's the like,
I was talking to you about Randy Kraft a couple weeks ago.
well, you think about like, okay, evil people. How do you measure evil, right? Like
Right.
this person didn't have influence, but they did as much evil as they possibly could with what they had. So that person, if they were on a throne of some sort or in a position of power like Stalin or somebody, what nightmarish fucking world would that look like? Right? So like, maybe they are more evil, but they didn't have as much power.
Richard Ramirez, if he had like legion
Armies.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
there actually is a psychopathy scale.
Okay.
Who rated really high on it was our boy Clifford Olson.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, he rated
Fuck that guy.
really high on it.
Didn't we talk about that on the podcast one time about how my grandpa like caught him,
No.
Clifford Olson? Yeah.
Caught him what?
Okay.
So do you know
listen.
who Clifford Olson is?
Was it a serial killer?
Yeah, he killed like
of
11
children.
kids or something.
Yeah,
Like, was he kind of the same time as like John Wayne Gacy-ish?
I don't know.
Same-
like 70s
local,
and
though.
80s.
Yeah. So John Wayne Gacy, I think he was almost part of the same triad. There's a conspiracy that they all know each other.
No,
Really?
probably not.
For little boys, it's a conspiracy. It's called the Scarlet. Anyways, beyond. You know,
Talk about that another
Clifford,
time.
Clifford Olson was over in
Vancouver.
Lower Mainland. Yeah,
He's more local,
yeah.
yeah.
so I don't think he had anything to do with the
No.
American serial killers. But anyway, he was basically my grandpa was police chief of Port Moody at the time.
Oh, cool.
Or he was a dog cop at the time, but he eventually became police chief. But anyway, whatever. So he was like, they were searching for him because he had committed some robbery or something. Like it wasn't even for anything scary, like child related or anything murder related.
Right.
And he was going with his dog, Tiger, this great big dog, and he's just going along, and apparently he was like, his dog, they had combed this forested area over and over and over, and they're almost going to give up. And then his dog started digging at this pile of leaves, and they found him like underneath the pile of leaves, and the guy had like pissed himself and was like crying and being like, "Get this dog off me, I'm fucking freaking out." Like,
And that was
just a little bitch, and that was Clifford Olson. But it was just for, my grandpa told me, he's like, I would have shot him right in the head right there if I'd have known what he was going to go on to do. He's like, I wouldn't have cared. I would have just shot him straight in his head, but I didn't know what he was going to go on to kill kids. So they like,
So that was before.
arrested. It was before they arrested
holy
him.
shit.
But I've also got a connection to him.
Oh my god.
So
Our sponsor's paying off.
That's right.
So my mom,
Yeah.
she was a teenager.
Yep.
She was walking home with her bike. She was almost at her apartment building. And this guy pulled up in a station wagon filled with like art supplies in the back. And he basically was like, do you want to ride home? And she was like, no, I'm fine. I'm good.
Stranger danger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he kind of nagged her a bit.
Yeah.
And she was like, nope, I'm good. And then she like crossed like some grass or something to get to the building.
To get away from him.
And so she goes to the building's bike cage,
Right.
and there's a door. So she goes in the door, closes it. She hears a knock at the door, and I guess she told me she thought it was her sister.
Right.
So she opened the door, and it's him. And he was like, I really think like we could be friends, and like still trying to get her. And so she was like, basically slammed the door, dropped her bike, and ran up into her apartment.
Smart.
And she figures it was him.
Right.
We're fairly certain it was him, or she is, because obviously later he became quite infamous, and she was reading about him one time because she always thought there was something familiar about him, and he was in Victoria,
Right.
at the time, and he was driving around a station wagon with
Similar.
a bunch of art supplies in it.
Oh my.
So with that being said, have you seen, so that's, I mixed it up. Okay, not the same guy that was in the same circle as John Wayne Gacy. I actually like watched like 3 years ago a CBC like 1 hour special. It was like super Canadian, super low budget, and I think it was done in like the early 2000s about Clifford Olson.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen that? And there was like people on that had firsthand accounts. I wonder if your mom was on that. I was just wondering.
No.
She didn't.
Probably would have been
used,
But there is like an addendum there with my mom ended up working for the Attorney General later.
Yeah.
And there was a payment made to Clifford Olson's family for him revealing information, and it was like $10,000 per victim. So it was like
That was a big part of the scandal. They were paying him.
and he secretly, like, they tried to make it, they tried
Quiet.
to put it under wraps,
Right.
but they gave his family out like $110,000 for him to like
Admit to things.
yeah, and like tell where bodies were and stuff.
I was just talking about that earlier with my mom because we were talking about this, and she said, you know, there was a lot of like scandal over the fact that they paid him. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, it sucks, but they're trying to mitigate the damage because they're, on one hand, he has no reason to tell what's going on other than his weird, sick pride, right? And they want to find out for the sake of the victims what happened, and they want to stop hemorrhaging money on the case. They want to stop spending all this money on cops and detectives and forensics and everything trying to fucking figure
Find these people.
when they may never.
And
so instead, it's like, let's pay the $100,000 and be done with it.
Makes
So
sense.
everyone
it's not
gets
like
closure.
it's not like his family took part in it either. They're probably
No.
you know, they're
Probably
they're,
also devastated.
they're victims too.
Yeah.
But so what my story was, she had to like, I can't remember exactly what she said.
Your mom.
Basically that she had to like cut a check for like $110,000. They didn't have a name on it, and when she went to ask like what this was for, she was told to shut up, mind her own business. And then it was later in the news, payment for
110.
the amount.
Cliff Olds.
So
Wow.
so nothing.
What a
nothing.
creepy thing to almost have been abducted potentially by this guy and then have to like actually sign off on the check because that's your job to like.
Now
Jesus, that's- yeah.
now so none of that is like
It's not for sure, but it's
unfor-
worth talking
but
about.
it's like 90%.
It's like you can kind of pluck hairs, figure it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
So yeah, we
Split hairs.
both of us just have a really interesting connection to Clifford Olson.
Yeah, trippy.
He may have prevented my existence had my mom not been a smarty.
Due diligent. Yeah.
Yep.
It's one of those things. Yeah. I don't know. Have you ever been approached by a man in a vehicle before? I have.
Not like that.
I got approached by a woman in a vehicle.
Oh.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I'm like, quick cat calling. It's not fair, and then I turn my back,
Yeah.
strut away.
Straight away. Yeah. The Bee Gees play. Yeah.
Feeling
no.
good about
No,
myself.
I was a kid though, and I got in trouble for talking to her. So
What? So a lady came up and was like, "Hey, would you like an ice cream sundae?"
she came down my driveway when I lived in the Highlands.
Weird.
And I like walked right up to her car and was like talking to her, and she was like, it was harmless. She was just asking for directions or whatever, but I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know what her intentions were. I was like probably like 5 or 6,
So you got in trouble from your mom.
because my older brother was just like, he went and talked to the stranger, and then my mom was just like, you don't do that. I've taught you better. And
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like fucking terrified.
yeah, of course.
Good reason.
No,
I mean,
that's fair.
my parents were always freaked out because I used to play with Michael Donaghy.
Right.
Like
right.
I was like friends with Michael Donaghy, and we used to hang out and play while our parents played baseball on the Guardian Angels, the Coast Guard baseball team, like slow pitch. And so I was just a little kid, and I was just playing on the blanket or whatever with toys and stuff while our parents played baseball.
Right.
I remember when he disappeared. Yes, I did it. I a younger child kidnapped an older child.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
But no,
sleeping.
anyway,
Yeah.
it's not a joke.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No.
it's quite horrific. And
Sorry. Continue.
his parents played with my parents, and how did what?
Sorry. How did you come to be friends with him if you were different ages?
Our parents played baseball on the same team together, and we would play.
Oh, okay,
on the
okay,
blanket
yeah,
while
yeah,
our
yeah.
parents are playing
Yeah.
baseball.
And that's still unsolved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't know what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a guy that.
Abducted. There's
Yeah. Super sad. Yeah.
really sad.
Yeah.
I had like Michael Donaghy missing posters on my parents' vehicles, like growing up and everything. Like, yeah.
That was like a big thing. It was like so many of your friends' houses just have like Michael Donaghy stuff up.
And it's so crazy
So
how
my parents were terrified, obviously,
yeah.
because it's like one child away, you know, like it's
Yeah.
my little friend.
connection.
They often say it like stole our innocence in
Yeah.
the city, because it's one of those things that you see happening in like Toronto or Vancouver.
That doesn't happen here. Yeah. Everybody says that. Yeah.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
Victoria's kind of scary, honestly. Like, you know, can't say names, but my aunt was a police dispatcher.
Right.
And she let us know. She's like, you know, the news doesn't tell you all the murders and shit that happen. Like, people get stabbed, shot, killed all the time in Victoria.
And
there's
it's swept. It's like Disneyland. Yeah.
What?
Sorry, Disneyland. They don't say anything happens on the
People
premises.
get shot, killed, and murdered. It's like Disneyland. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude?
Nothing happens in Disneyland at all. They wait until
They sweep it under the rug.
Exactly.
Yeah. Somebody has a heart attack. They had a heart attack at the gates of Disneyland.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Victoria. It's you don't hear about it. Like there's like what Rena Verk, Michael Donaghy,
Lindsay Buziak.
Oh, Lindsay Buziak. Yeah.
My friend Phil Trong, who got shot outside of Red Jacket Club. I mean, we graduated with the guy. He was my defense partner in hockey. And
crazy.
Some kid came back. He wanted to. Here's a crazy story.
Yeah, I haven't heard of this.
Rest in peace, my poor buddy Phil. But he was dealing with a dispute between two friends of his.
Right.
He liked both the people, but they were beefing for some reason. And one of our other grad mates, this guy Stu, drove by or whatever and was like, hey man, his best friend, he's like, you want to ride? I'm leaving now. You want to ride right now to Phil? And Phil's like, no man, I got to stay behind to make sure this shit is okay. So these guys don't beef, right?
Right.
So he's like, okay, I'll catch you later, right? Drives off. That would have saved his life. But how harsh is that? But anyway, he was trying to listen, man, this guy's cool. Don't worry about it. And then some kid hopped out of a taxi cab. 16-year-old kid, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Not allowed in the bar or anything. Hopped out of a taxi cab and just shot a bunch of bullets at them all and killed my friend Phil. Killed our buddy.
It was a gang initiation.
To get the guy to do that or whatever. It was
because the guy that they were arguing with was part of the Red Scorpions. So he called this kid to come down and with a
deal with shit.
Yeah.
So did Phil have any?
No affiliation.
No.
Just a buddy, and
just stepping in, trying to be a good guy.
He got a posthumous Governor General's award for bravery because when the kid was pointing the gun at them, he stepped in front of his friend and was like, "You're gonna have to shoot me first," and that's
what they did.
Exactly what happened.
Fucking hell.
Crazy as
that's insane. Yeah, I never heard of that.
They were arrested within minutes.
Yeah,
they didn't make it very far.
No,
but it's very sad. He was 20,
and then
and that's real. That's fuck, everybody's probably got a story like that, you know?
I mean, I've only heard of stories like that. I've never I mean, the a lot of the stuff that happens in my friend groups is just of people that I know is the drug crisis and fentanyl. But
well, we went to school with the brother of Rena Burke, you know,
right, you did, yeah.
He's a real good guy, you know, but I don't know, it's crazy. You think you're in a small place, you're in a small, sheltered city, but Victoria has some pretty scary shit go down.
Yeah, and I guess they do sweep a lot of it out of the because I mean, in 30 years, I've heard of there's 4 huge cases. There's probably a lot more that I'm not thinking of right now, but grand scheme of things,
pretty tame, pretty safe place,
exactly,
compared to the rest of the world,
exactly.
Part, but there's definitely more shit than we think.
Yeah,
I think that there has to be more than a few people buried out in the Highlands. I've always thought this because I lived out there as a kid,
right?
And a forested area that is accessible by road, right near a city, probably.
It's not far from town, but it's remote.
It's enough that you wouldn't find shit. Yeah.
Because actually, when I was a little kid, there was we were coming home one night, and there was police on the road, and there's where there's the little horse trail.
Wait, where?
When you turn at Munn Road.
Who cares?
Okay. Anyways, there's a part in the bush that's relatively accessible, and they found a body there.
They did, yeah.
Good God, yeah.
Our friend found one,
that was terrible.
Self-death victim.
Oh no.
Out in East Sioux Park one time.
Yeah.
It's horrifying. He's just out there camping, and he said he looked over and he saw it, and he knew exactly what it was the second he saw it.
I can imagine exactly
what it was. And he said that. Should I go into detail? That's kind of brutal. I don't know. Trigger warning?
Yeah, trigger warning.
Yes. Trigger warning.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's the algorithm doesn't like when we say that. It marks it. But anyway, that's why I say self-death and dumb shit like that, and we change our language.
The
robots don't like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But whatever. I'm just saying that's why I'm saying weird shit like that, talking weird. But basically, this man. One of the eeriest things about it is that this person had brought out a wooden chair really far out into the woods, really way out there. Didn't really want to be found, it seemed.
Wow.
And they brought a wooden chair with them. And Like, how fucked is that, man?
Splinterized. When he found the body, he like ran to the beach.
Right.
And you're out there in the park. And he called 911 from the beach, and he got Port Angeles.
Oh, God.
And they're like, oh, you're in Canada. Let us transfer you.
Yeah.
And they transferred him to Vancouver, who transferred him to Victoria,
Jesus.
who transferred him to West Shore, who finally transferred him to Souk. And when he was on the phone with Souk RCMP, he lost the call.
Oh, my God.
And so he like ran out of the park to his car and like hurried up the highway to the detachment. And when he got there, he's like, hi, I'm the guy that just called about a body. And they're like,
take us back there.
We just sent someone to look for you. So they called that person back. They called the search and rescue, and they were looking at a map of the park, and they're like, can you tell us where it is? And he's like, yeah. And he's like he's describing this little area where he found the body. And they're like, we don't really know what you're talking about. Can you come with us?
Yeah. And you didn't really want to, I guess.
Guy, man. Well, why would you?
Of course.
He was happy to help, but like, fuck, it's pretty traumatic.
No kidding. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and they're lucky it was him, because he knew the park like the back of his hand.
Yeah, he's a woodsman.
Right.
The only funny thing out of the story is the newspaper was like, it was a lost hiker. It was like, he was not lost.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I think he went off the trail to go like pee or something.
Right. So this is the thing about the news, right? When we hear things that are not necessarily our business,
right?
You know, we don't necessarily hear the full truth, right? Somebody fell and they hit their head and they died, or they fell, you know, it's a wayward hiker that's tragically got lost. It's like, this dude or running a limbs. Like, that's fucked. That's one of the most, I'll never get the image out of my head. I didn't see it, but I sure fucking think about it pretty often.
Yeah.
You know, like, how fucking ready to leave this world do you have to be to just do it that way? Like, just fucking, it's so sad.
Yeah. That is
really tragic.
Was that like a little while ago? Was that a long time ago?
That was a few years now. A few years back.
2012 maybe?
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
It does fly.
Yep.
Shit.
Oh man, and you just imagine like the reason why I ask about time is just because you just imagine like what that person might have accomplished in the last 10 years and how quickly it goes.
They didn't get to have a stake in this world.
Yeah, exactly. It's depressing.
Even if things might have turned around, man, let me just say, like, I was in a fucked up, depressed way about a year ago.
Yeah, right.
You know, and for a long time, and I am doing so much better now that I encourage everybody who's going through a rough time to please wait it out.
Persevere.
Please try to do your best for yourself. And just take care of yourself and try to enjoy all the little sweet parts of life and get to a place where you can be happy again, because holy shit, I know what it's like to not care anymore and to not want to live, and that shit sucks. I'm sorry to get real heavy on everybody, but you know, with regards to what we just talked about, like, I don't want to see anybody go and give up.
Of course.
I want to see everybody persevere and get to that fucking awesome time, because it's definitely coming. Even if it takes years, you'll get to a fucking awesome place where, you know, you're loved and we all love you. You know, these are my friends.
These are my friends.
Let's want you guys to be well, you know?
And like, and the other thing too, which I can also relate to that, I've been in some pretty dark, as is everybody as humans go, but there's like, even when I hear people be like, don't give up, and when I was in that point, I would still think, fuck you, you'll make it.
Easy for you to say.
It's easy for you to say. I'm in this low point of my life right now where it doesn't look like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't care what you say. Yeah, you're just telling me the can-do
hopeless
TED talk. Yeah, and it's like, wow, that's awesome.
Being truly hopeless is a really, really, really unhealthy place.
It sucks. And then a year, but it took about a year, and stuff started, you know, switching up a little bit.
But now you can remember that time, and you can remember, like, okay, we don't go back to that for a reason, you know, like, and we steer ourselves to the better, you know, that's just learning and getting stronger. So I hope that everybody who's going through the fucking worst part of their life right now, and they think that it's never going to get better, I know it's cliche, but it seriously gets better.
Totally.
It will totally get better and be worth it and more fun when you push through this.
That's a good message, and I think that's a perfect message to end it on. We've been going for about an hour.
Yeah, we're talking about bad people. You guys are all good people, you know, I think anyway, that listen to this podcast. So,
not me.
You know, not you. You don't listen to the podcast. You just come to ruin it.
You just ruined
why we invite you back.
Yeah.
Is this the first? Oh no, we had Brody back twice. I was gonna say, who else came back twice?
Yeah, but I'm technically Brody. Brody was on one main episode. The first episode I don't really count. He was like our first inaugural guest of YouTube, but that never made it to the light of day on podcast form.
Anyway,
thanks
for coming back, buddy. You are a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Gonna pick your brain again one day, hopefully, if you're down to come back. So,
yeah, we'll see.
You're an educational dude.
Yeah, no. So what we got to do is
I'm gonna hide your body in the Highlands.
Yeah,
if he disappears, this is my admission right now.
Right after I said we got to trap him, I'm gonna hide his body in the Highlands.
Perfect. Yeah.
What we got?
I'm the closest one to the door, so I could just
beeline. No, what I'm saying is we got to trap him with making him say something wrong, so he has to come back on a new episode.
Oh God!
Oh, he already said one wrong. I already heard him say a wrong one, and I'm gonna wait until he figures it out.
Yes, perfect. And then he has to come back. So that's how we get him coming back.
You'll have to listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
What's that?
I think you're just duping me.
Which part is a dupe?
I think I was flawless this time. They're just making me doubt myself.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Awesome, dude. Well,
5 minutes in. Son of a bitch. God damn it. Crap. Okay. Well, anyways, thanks for listening, everybody out there.
Funny anecdote to end on right now. The Vancouver Canucks once, I can't remember when it was, maybe, I don't know, in the 90s or something, but there was this Russian hockey player that was supposed to be the next big thing. He's going to be the next fucking Pavel Bure. He's going to be the next, Wayne Gretzky. This guy's fucking incredible, right? And they get this guy, Vladimir something or other, right? And they get him on their camp or whatever, into their like training camp and stuff, and they're working, and this fucking guy, for some reason, is just a bag of shit. He's eating hot dogs. He's like sleeping in. Like he ate so many hot dogs. Like this guy would just eat it's like, these are pro athletes. Everyone's eating steak and spaghetti and rice and stuff, and he's like eating hot dogs. And he was super out of shape, and they ended up firing him. They ended up not using him. He was like really unathletic, and they ended up calling him Vlad the Impaler.
Is that real?
That's real.
That's hilarious.
He's eating a bunch of hot dogs and shit. So whenever I think of somebody eating a shit ton of hot dogs, I think of Vlad the Impaler.
That's a perfect way to end this episode.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much for everybody
Thanks for listening to our crazy shit. We love you guys.
Thanks for Dan Hitchin coming on.
These are my
toodles.
These are my
friends.
More.
Oh, that Halloween.